how much do we know of the famous prophecies made by well-known Nostradamus and Baba Vanga? What makes them two so special, and how did they influence our world? Do you believe in the predictions made by these two extraordinary people? And do you believe some of the future predictions will actually come true? So far, there are many people who would answer with a yes, and that is really not surprising at all. For those who do not know much, Nostradamus was a reputed seer, a French physician who is the best known for his great book, Les Propheties. Les Propheties is actually a collection of 942 poetic quatrains. Each one of these is written to predict the future events in our world. The content found in the quatrains is mostly about disasters, earthquakes, floods, murders, battles, plagues, and invasions. Each of the quatrains is actually related to a single person, a small group of people, a town, towns, and even several countries. The people who find themselves believing in his prophecies are usually the ones who support his predictions related to the rises of Adolf Hitler and Napoleon, world wars, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and a lot more. Nostradamus has left a lot of clues for us, and many authors have retold apocryphal legends related to his life. He died on 2nd of July back in 1566, leaving behind great, well-remembered predictions and stories. Even today, we find ourselves reading his predictions and wondering what is the next one that could turn out to be true. Nostradamus was a legend with a brain we are never going to understand. Aside from the great Nostradamus, there was also a grandmother Vanga, or better known as Baba Vanga. Vanga was born back in 1911 in Bulgaria. Her childhood was more or less completely normal. She was an ordinary girl with blonde hair and brown eyes. Vanga's father was an IMRO activist. He was sent into the Bulgarian army, and her mother passed away soon after. She was left all on her own, depending on the care and charity of her neighbours. Throughout her childhood, she was always trying to heal people. She would prescribe some herbs to her friends who even pretended to be ill. According to the story we know, Vanga had survived a terrible accident when a tornado lifted her into the air and threw her back onto a nearby field. People who had found her that day described her to be very scared, with eyes completely covered in dust and sand. Vanga was no longer able to open her eyes, and she had no money to afford a real operation to heal the injuries she had gotten. This entire situation led her to a gradual loss of sight. She was taken to a school for the blind found in the Zemun city, the kingdom of Croats, Serbs, and Slovenes. She spent 3 years there, and she got taught to read Braille, knit, clean, cook, and even play the piano. Unlike Nostradamus, she never wrote any books herself. She mostly spoke to the people and gave them her wise words. She had been visited by thousands of celebrities from all around the globe: presidents, business leaders, politicians, writers, philosophers, and even scientists. Millions of people worldwide believed she had possessed paranormal abilities. Vanga died 11th of August back in 1996. She died from a breast cancer, and her funeral attracted a massive number of people. Her last will and testament were that her Petrich house becomes a museum, which is still open for anyone who wishes to see where she lived. Shortly before her death, Vanga mentioned that a 10-year-old blind girl who lives in France will be the one to inherit her gift. According to her claims, we should soon hear about this girl too. Some of the researchers actually managed to calculate the percentage of her predictions coming true. The surprising 80% of the prophecies by Vanga were actually true, which makes us wonder, how did she do this? Some of the predictions that turned out to be true. Nostradamus. Nostradamus and his prediction of the Great Fire of London. Nostradamus actually predicted the Great Fire of London In his prediction, he mentions London burning up in the fire back in 1666. On September 2nd, 1666, a bakery on Pudding Lane in London became a fire that lasted 3 days, and it consumed the city. It is best known as the Great Fire of London. It is believed that thousands of businesses and houses burned to the ground. On top of that, there are speculations about the deadly plague that had died out during this time as well. The famous prediction says, "The blood of the just will be lacking in London, burnt up in the fire of 66. The ancient lady will topple from her high place. Many of the same sect will be killed." The prediction related to the French Revolution. Another great prediction that comes from a great Nostradamus is the one related to the French Revolution. He predicted that the French people would have enough of the aristocratic rules. The French revolted and stormed the Bastille back in 1789. The fall of the Bastille symbolized the monarchy abuses. This resulted in peasants taking control over Paris and kidnapping royals. Some of them were even beheaded. The famous prediction says, "Songs, chants, and demands will come from the enslaved, held captive by the nobility in their prisons. At a later date, brainless idiots will take these as divine utterances." Hitler and his terror in Europe predicted by Nostradamus. Hitler was born to poor parents back in 1889, Western Europe. He used his great oratory skills to lead the Nazi Party in Germany, followed by a World War I. Hitler also allied with Japan in the East at that time, and many people believe that Hister is actually a typo in Nostradamus' prediction. The famous prediction says, "From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the East. And beasts ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers. The greatest part of the battlefield will be against Hister. Into a cage of iron will be the great one be drawn, when the child of Germany observes nothing." Nostradamus predicted the death of Henry II. One of the most shocking predictions made by this man, 1559, the King of France, Henry II died after Gabriel Comte de Montgomery actually killed him during a game of joust. Both of them had shields that featured lions. The shard of the man's lace went right through his eye and another shot went through his temple. It took 10 days for Henry II to die after this tragic happened. The famous prediction says, "The young lion will overcome the older one on the field of combat in a single battle. He will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made 1, then he dies a cruel death." Some of the known predictions made by Baba Vanga. Ice caps will be melting. According to the blind mystic Vanga, the ice caps might become one of the big problems in our world. Vanga claimed that the ice caps will completely melt by 2045. While this might sound very bad for us, we are aware that the ice caps are already melting due to the global warming everyone talks about. If this continues, her prediction might actually come true. China will become the superpower. Another strange prediction that is turning out to be true is the claim of Vanga that says Chinese will become the new superpower. It is believed they should bring the United States to the end of its economy. According to her words, the exploiters will soon become the exploited ones. She predicted the death of a Yugoslav singer and actress. Silvana visited Vanga back in August 1976. Apparently, the meeting had not been very pleasing at all. Vanga was only sitting and staring through the window. Meanwhile, Silvana was with her. After hours of waiting, Vanga finally spoke. She told her she does not need to pay anything and that she would not talk to her right now. Silvana was told to come back in 3 months. If she is able to come then, that is. Silvana thought of this as a confirmation of her own death. She left Vanga's home in tears and never came back. 2 months after the visit to Vanga, Silvana died in a car crash with her sister. Vanga predicted her own death. As scary as this might sound, Vanga's followers believe she actually predicted her own death. She dreamed that she would die on the 11th of August and that she would be buried on the 13th of August. She was right. Vanga predicted Donald Trump and his personality. After the election of Donald Trump, many Vanga supporters started talking about her predictions related to the 45th President of the United States. They claimed she predicted he would have a messianic personality and that he would actually bring the country down. Of course, there is no evidence to back up any of these claims, knowing Baba Vanga was not a writer at all. Everything we know is from the people who were close to her. This makes any prediction attributed to her extremely hard to disprove. There are many other Baba Vanga predictions for our future. Some of these actually seem pretty interesting, while others make us pretty scared too. According to Baba Vanga, throughout the next 100 years, we are going to face a lot of changes. 2025. The population of Europe will disappear due to the wars. 2046. All our organs can be mass-produced. The exchange of our organs becomes a favourite health treatment. 2066. The United States will use a climate weapon for the first time, possibly the freezing climate weapon. 2088. A new disease appears. People get old in a couple of seconds. 2097. The aging disease gets finally cured. There are also various 22nd century predictions made by Baba Vanga. Some of them speak of humans turning into cyborgs, live robots, animals becoming half-humans, a new religion, new signals from space, and even an artificial sun that uses nuclear energy. That was Baba Vanga, Nostradamus and their predictions. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.